I believe the man himself has arrived. Mr. Fred Penner, winner of Children's Album of the Year. Fred Penner. Fred.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so cool.
Congratulations.
My pleasure.
Good to see you.
Have a seat.
I will sit
Snuggle in.
on the pink or the green.
Grab a JUNO mic if you like. We would love to hear you.
Yeah, no. Make sure it's
Children's
like prominently
Album of the
placed
Year.
in front of you.
It's all right.
And this is the
This is good.
4th JUNO that you've picked up.
Truly.
What I'm seeing from
Over
1989.
multiple, 89 or 88, whatever.
Said 89,
Oh,
2003.
I thought it was 88. What do I know?
Yeah.
It all blurs.
Yeah, it does indeed. Yeah, this is number 4. And the interesting thing is Ken Whiteley was my producer for the first album in the Fred Penner's Place in 89. And he produced this album as well. So there's sort of like a completion of a little circle.
You've been an entertainer, a children's entertainer as well for over 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you draw that like spark and that youthful exuberance from?
I've thought of that,
Yeah.
wondering really where that comes from. I mean, I'll take it back to my sister, who was a Down syndrome child, and she passed away in the early 70s, and really was an inspiration for me to pursue a musical career. She passed away in 70. My dad died in 1971. You know, I had these mortality checks, and that opened it up. But I worked a lot with special needs kids in the 70s, physically and mentally challenged, psychotic, autistic, you know, the whole range of disturbance. And music was just always part of the connection with kids. And I have a good memory of who I was when I was a child. So when I'm writing something, I go back to that core, and it's often very serious. You know, I think writing for children is serious business. It's not just a bunch of fluff and, you know, and staying up there with high energy. It doesn't have to be high energy. What it needs to be is connected with the child. It needs to be about something that the child can relate to, and that can be the whole range of emotion. Children are, I think often we don't give them as much credit as we should, perhaps. I don't use the word should too often, but
You don't want to should all over people.
no,
that
exactly.
gets tricky. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's not about shoulds, but it's about being aware of the humanity of the child, and that they really need to be respected, you know, for who they are, for what they think, for their opinions. So when I'm talking to a kid, I will seriously say, so tell me what's happening in your life? What's going on? You know, to a 5-year-old. And they will say, well, this is going, you know, I mean, when someone asks a serious question to a child, just expect to get some really interesting answers because you're touching their spirit in a way, you know?
That's so cool. And maybe like in a way, through your work and your music, you healed your own pain in a similar fashion.
I suppose in a way,
Yeah.
you know, I've taken that very deeply, knowing, you know, what Susie felt when she listened to music. You know, it brought her to tears, and seeing that as a 13-year-old, it was, are you kidding? That's what music can do. So that sort of formed a foundation, and the philosophy of, you know, never underestimating ability to make a difference in the life of a child. That sort of rolls off my tongue a little quicker than I like sometimes, but that's what it's all about, is knowing that you can make a difference. And I love that I am in a position of being allowed to do that in humanity, not just for children, but for the parents, for the grandparents, of bringing a concept, an idea forward about cooperation, about life, about family, about unity, about, you know, ideas and feelings that are fundamental to every human being. So my music hasn't really changed fundamentally over 40 years. The songs are different, but the essence that I'm trying to play with is, and I suppose always will be, the same.
He's so magical. I'm just like, you're the greatest. And I was going to ask you, because I was like, if this doesn't work out for us, which, I mean, very questionable.
I don't know.
Could we become children's performers? Like, what are your tips for somebody that's like, I want to get into this?
The first, and people have asked me.
I'm sure they
how
have.
to
Like,
do that.
well, yeah, because they want what you are.
And the first question I throw back at them is, why do you want to do this?
Money.
You know? And then I'll
that-
say, well,
No, that's not the right answer.
Then,
No.
then go
Touching
far.
the
I knew
heart
it.
and
I knew
souls
it.
of children, they're the
It's-
future of the human race. That's
It's,
it. Do I have it?
yeah, I mean, it goes very, very deep. It's you. If you want to do this, then you have to establish a really deep, positive foundation inside of you that you are constantly challenging, constantly exploring. When you start the creative process, don't be afraid to edit, to chop the material so that you are getting to the core of what you want to communicate.
Well, in terms of things to not be afraid of, we have a few games that we have been playing with
I
Yeah,
love
you
guests.
like
games.
games.
So,
After
is
this
good.
day, give me some games
Yeah.
to play with. That's what I
A
need.
couple of options, okay?
Okay.
So, in degrees of difficulty.
Okay.
One is, are you a Van fan? It's trivia about the great city of Vancouver.
Right.
One
Yep.
is Bublé or Bust. It's trivia about the great Michael Bublé.
Uh-huh.
And the other is Bare Naked Karaoke, where a classic Bare Naked Ladies song will be selected at random for you to then sing with no accompaniment. Truly bare naked, but with lyrics provided by the
Now,
lovely
this is,
Nicole.
if you can't tell, I'm
Tunji.
saying please.
I have a choice of those three.
You have a choice of those three.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to force you into like.
Jeez,
So I'm
well,
definitely wanted to force you into
we-
the bare
we
naked
wanna
karaoke.
force you into the bare naked ladies thing.
I just did a thing with Bare Naked Ladies 2 weeks ago on,
And how'd it go?
on the George Strombolopoulos show.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
And they asked me to come up and play If I Had $1 Million with them.
Yeah.
So do you think you could do it? You think you could do If I Had $1 million?
So I could do that
Okay,
one.
yes.
If
There
you
we
throw
go,
too many
okay.
others
We
at
all
me.
heard. He said yes.
Yes, that's a yes to Bare Naked Karaoke. Finally, it's not just me and Casey Joe.
Fred Penner said, I mean, we did these, but maybe we'll get you
All
to do
right.
an emoji after this. I mean, we're asking a lot.
yeah.
We're asking a
An
lot
emoji.
here. Yeah, this is a new thing on the iPhone 10. I'll get this ready while
I've
lovely Nicole.
I've got a rabbit, an emoji of myself.
You do?
Oh.
Yes,
Okay, well
I
maybe
did
we
that
could do
once.
like
I'll
a
send that to you.
Okay, we'll do like a unicorn.
Okay.
So we have
Where are we
so
going?
many. We got multiple phones. We got multiple laptops on stage. We got monitors. We got 3 cameras. We got this rack of stuff, and all of
Yes,
the
you
lyrics
do.
are
Yeah.
printed off of a computer. And
all these very
we
strange
don't have
people
them.
looking
I know,
this way.
isn't it weird?
So okay, we're gonna look up the lyrics to If I Had $1 Million.
Okay. Do you know some of the lyrics though? You just performed this on the Strombo show.
I sang the chorus.
Okay,
with them, yeah.
so-
but even if you got the lyrics there, that would be
Okay.
helpful.
So we've got the lyrics here, and so let's pull them up. And if you could just give us. Oh no, I just closed it.
No, you got it.
Why?
You got it.
No, what?
no.
Why?
We're trying to, we got too many tabs open on the computer and our brains.
Okay,
you know?
there we go.
Okay.
So if you can sort of get through just like that first verse, perhaps, of If I Had $1 Million.
Okay.
Or the chorus. We can scroll down to the chorus. You want to do chorus?
No, so,
Okay.
if I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, well, I'd buy you a house. I would buy you a house if I had $1 million. If I had $1 million, I'd buy you furniture for your house, maybe a nice Chesterfield or an ottoman. If I had $1 million, if I had $1 million, I'd buy you a K car, a nice reliable automobile. If I had $1 million, I'd buy your love. If I had $1 million, I'd buy a tree fort in your yard. If I had $1 million, you could. And you know where this whole thing came from? Because Ed used to be a children's entertainer on the buses coming back from trips.
I didn't know.
And he said, I've got to engage these kids in something.
Yeah.
So I said, well, what would you do? What would you want if you had $1 million? And this was, I mean, decades ago. And the kids would say, oh, I want this. And then it turned into
A nice, reliable
into
automobile.
this song.
That was
Or an
amazing.
ottoman. That
We
was
threw
so
you
good.
in
That's the
at
best
the
I
deep
can do.
end
Thank
of.
you.
You're a pro,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, you were
You're
a
so good.
professional. Fred, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on your Juno.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Congratulations.
indulging
Yeah.
us in Bare Naked
Yeah.
Karaoke.
Yeah, that was really
Pleasure
fun.
speaking with you. Thank you very much, folks.
Cheers, Fred. Thank you
Cheers
so much.
all. Thank you.